Good evening. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is our City of Malacca, September 28th, 2017 Commission meeting. We're going to have our invocation by Brother Ricky Bybee, Trinity Baptist Church, WHIF-FM radio, and we're going to have the pledge led by Sergeant Azula. Will everyone please stand at this time?
Will you join me in prayer? Our gracious and loving Father, we thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of health that we need to fulfill our callings, and for the sustenance and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved, and for the useful work, and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. Thanks as well for the freedom to embrace you or the freedom to reject you. Thank you for loving us, from your boundless, gracious nature. In Scripture, you've said that citizens ought to obey governing authorities, and since you've established those very authorities to promote peace, order, and justice, therefore, I pray for our mayor tonight, and for the various levels of city officials, and in particular, for this assembled council. I'm asking, Father, that you graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of welfare and the true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and rightness, confidence in what's good and what's big, the ability to work together in harmony even when there's honest disagreement. I ask, Father, that you grant a personal peace in their lives and joy in their tasks. I pray for the agenda set before them tonight, Father. Give them an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in our beloved city. It's in your most blessed name I pray. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Brother Bobby. But, Sergeant, if you stand up for me just for 1 second. This young man I've known for a long time. And today we want to just thank you for your service to our country and for the work that you do in this community as well. Let's give him a round of applause. So in the midst of considerable discord going all around this country, we would all be remiss if we don't tell you thank you for your service, both in times of peace and war, for the sacrifices that you make, and for your family, for lending them to us so that we can all have an opportunity to express. And so we definitely appreciate you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Hill.
Here.
Vice Mayor Brown. Present. Commissioner Borum.
Present.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
And Commissioner Justin Campbell is absent.
He is at a work conference. So moving forward, we'll have the approval of our minutes from 7/31/2017, our regular meeting on August 31st and on September 6th.
So moved.
Second.
So motion on the floor in a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving forward to our public recognitions and presentations, we've got two proclamations. The first of which is our Fire Prevention Week proclamation. We're going to ask that Chief Grimes come forward along with our fine men from the Malacca Fire Department who worked tirelessly during the storm, moving debris off the roadway, cutting trees. These guys actually went over into the Interlochen area and to Lake Estates, where it was flooded, doing life safety checks for individuals and taking food and water. And I want to personally thank you guys for going over and beyond the call of duty, both in the city and within the Many of you don't know that our fire department, they also, most of them work as construction folks as well. And so they have been very instrumental in getting the recreation programs back on, putting roofs on buildings, and just volunteering wherever they can in their free time. And so we definitely want to thank you guys for your service. There's not too many times that people are coming to you and saying thank you, but we definitely thank you for the work that you do. Proclamation reads as follows. Fire is a serious public safety concern, both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at the greatest risk for fire. U.S. fire departments responded to 365,500 home fires in 2015, resulting in 2,560 civilian deaths, which represents 78% of all deaths. And whereas newer homes are built with lightweight materials that burn faster, and many of today's products and furnishings produce toxic smoke when burned, making it impossible to see and breathe, which means that people have less than 2 minutes to escape from the time the fire alarm sounds. And whereas properly installed and working fire alarms in each room can mean the difference between life and death in the event of a home fire emergency, and residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will more likely survive a fire. And whereas a home fire escape plan practiced twice each year provides residents the best opportunity to escape in a home fire situation, which includes 2 exits from each room and a path to the outside from each exit, and a place outside where everyone will meet upon exiting the home. And whereas Palaca's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education, Palaca residents can learn how to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. And whereas the 2017 fire prevention theme, Every Second Counts, Plan 2 Ways Out, educates the public about vital importance of developing a home fire escape plan with all members of the household and practicing it twice each year during daytime and nighttime hours. Now, therefore, I, Terrell Hill, Mayor of the City of Palaca, Florida, together with the members of the Palaca City Commission, do hereby proclaim the week of October 8th through 14th, 2017, as Fire Prevention Week throughout the City of Palaca, and I urge all citizens to develop a home fire escape plan with all members of the household and practice it twice a year, and to participate in many public safety activities and efforts of the City of Palaca Fire Department during this week and throughout the year. In witness whereof, I am here to set my hand and cause to be affixed to seal of the City of Palaca, Florida, on this 28th day in the year of our Lord 2017. Terrell Hill Mayor, Commissioners Mary Lawson Brown, Rufus Borum, Justin Campbell, and Tammy McCaskill Williams. I entertain a motion.
So moved.
There's a motion made by Vice Mayor Brown and a second by Commissioner Borum. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Well, Chief, you know you can't escape without saying something.
Come on back.
You're trying to take a fire exit?
Probably somebody else's.
Let's give us 30 seconds on fire safety.
Well, we got a lot of students in the house tonight, so it's a good time to remember. We'll be in your schools here in the next month or so, teaching you what the mayor referred to as EDIT, which is exit drill inside the home. And have your kids, when they get home, have them go through the process, have them tell you. Because you're going to see them, especially these little kids are going to come home with fire hats and coloring books and stuff like that, so we've seen them. So make sure that you talk to them, quiz them. Come out for the place, determine where it's going to be, whether it's the tree in the front yard, the mailbox. So when we get there and your house is on fire, we don't have to spend time. We can pull it there and you can say, everybody's out. So then we can change gears from life safety to suppressing the fire. So just keep that in mind and all that kind of stuff. So other than that, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next proclamation is for Domestic Violence Prevention Month, October 2017. Anyone from the Lee County House, please come forward at this time. How are you? Whereas domestic violence is a crime that impacts all citizens of Putnam County and its impact is wide-ranging, taking a dramatic toll on the criminal justice system, law enforcement, the healthcare community, and society as a whole. Each year in Putnam County, an estimated 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men are victims of domestic violence, which translates into 13,100 individuals affected in our county based on recent data. And whereas it is vital for our community to support victims of domestic violence and assist with their grave financial, physical, psychological losses, to impose legal sanctions against perpetrators of personal violence, and to help the batterers unlearn their behavior. And whereas Lee Conley House is the only certified domestic violence center in Putnam County, providing a 24-hour hotline, shelter, and other needed services and counseling to victims and their families, and has been awarded certification through the Florida Department of Children and Families. And whereas the Palatka City Commission endorses and supports all programs sponsored by the Lee Conley House in its mission to provide shelter and support services to victims of domestic violence and their families, thereby assisting in the elimination of domestic violence in our community. Now, therefore, I, Terrell Hill, Mayor of the City of Palatka, Florida, together with the members of the Palatka City Commission, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2017, and is hereby designated as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the City of Palatka. And we urge all citizens to participate in planned activities benefiting the Lee Conley House in its mission to provide shelter and support services to victims of domestic violence and their families, and support its goals of creating a community with zero tolerance for domestic violence. And witness whereof I'm here to set my hand and cause to be affixed the seal of the City of Palatka on this 28th day in the year of September, the year of our Lord 2017. Terrell Hill Mayor, Commissioners Mary Lawson Brown, Rufus Borum, Justin Campbell, and Tammy McCaskill Williams. There's a motion on the floor in a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you to all of you in the city of Palatka. I truly appreciate your support and your continued support. Many of you may not know, but the Lee Conley House is named after former Mayor Lee Conley, and he was an instrumental part in us becoming a certified center. So I want to give him honor as was due. I want to let you all know that we have several things planned in October, and one of them being on October 12th at the courthouse gazebo, we will have a joint agency to include the Sheriff's Department, the Attorney General's office, or State Attorney's Office, Health Department, and Lee Conley House will be having a speak out, and we will hear from a childhood survivor of domestic violence. And I think that you will find it very interesting, the effects, since we do have so many children, of domestic violence on children. We also have a big fundraiser coming up in December, golf tournament for all you golfers. I do want to say a special thank you, though, to two people. Betsy Driggers sits on our board, and she's been on our board for a long time. I'm returning after being gone a long time. Rosemary Anderson is here. She's a former board member. And hiding in the hallway is Lee Ryan, former chair of the board and former board member. So I just want to thank you all for all of your help and in supporting the zero tolerance. Thank you, and thank you, Mayor.
Hey, do you have a date for that? Do you have a date in December for that?
It's the 8th.
The 8th,
We
December
are
8th?
looking for sponsors, we are looking for players, and we are looking for donations of raffle items. So if anyone wants to do any of that, please contact us. Any board member, contact the Lee Conley House, and we've got all the information for that at the golf course.
The city golf course.
The city golf course.
And also remember to wear your purple in October. Let's make sure we wear our purple in October in observance of Domestic Violence Month. Student of the Month for September has been canceled. We will move it to October. I know most of you were here for the meeting. But we're going to go ahead and get to one of the highlights of our monthly meetings. So once a month, we get an opportunity to celebrate young people and their accomplishments in the classroom, as well as their exemplary attitude as citizens. But before we celebrate them, we'd like for all parents, family members, siblings to stand who accompany these young people today. Truly, without you, it takes a village to raise a child, and without you being here and being supportive of these young folks, this would not be possible. So again, we thank you for being a part of their life, for giving them, instilling the values in them that make them believe that education is the key. And we want to keep encouraging you to participate, and we will continually praise these young folks for their great contributions. So again, thank all of you for your support of our students. And this next group hardly ever gets anyone sending nice things to them other than apples back in the day. But our educators, can you wave your hand? We know you're all in the hallways. You're kind of, some of you around here. But our educators are really the key. These folks sacrifice daily to work for our children. They hear all our him and hawing, but they don't get an opportunity to truly get thank you on a regular basis. And so we want to thank our educators for the work that you've done, for your sacrifices, and we want to thank you for pouring into our children, which is our most precious resource. So let's give our educators a round of applause. This month, accompanying me is our newest member of the City Commission, who's only been here for 33 years, that's it. Vice Mayor Mary Lawson Brown, who in herself is an icon. And she's going to help me give out these awards today for Student of the Month. We're going to ask that the students come up and line up along with the representatives from the school across the front of the room. After we've called all the names out, we will take a brief recess so that we can take photos with the students as well. We also have our yearly plaques to give out to each school representative as well. And we'll take a quick break so that everyone can take family pics or selfies or whatever you want to take at that time. So without further ado, we're going to get started. And this is Baby's Baby. From Browning Pierce Elementary School, Maddie Hodge.
Browning Pierce. Congratulations.
From Seal Over Turf, Junior 6th grade center, Abigail Wicker. The Children's Reading Center Charter School, Tyson Bellamy. From Yates Miller School, Ethan Howell. From James A. Long Elementary, Lillian Howe.
Yeah.
From Jenkins Middle School, Dayton Guthrie. Mr. Hedstrom. Kelly Smith Elementary, Haley Faulkner. From Mellon Elementary, Haley May. From Mosley Elementary School, Ramad Davis. From Pinal Baptist Academy, John Michael Foster. From Putnam Academy of Arts and Sciences, Megan Knowles. And from Putnam Edge High School, Shalanta Boyd. Did I get it right? Is this twice for you?
Yes.
Congratulations. They're going to do it next time. So again, young people, we are so proud of you. We're so proud of your accomplishments. We're so proud of the great job that you've done thus far in the beginning of the school year. And I'm going to give you something that I do every month, but it stuck with me since I was in the 3rd grade. And it's a poem that came from my 3rd grade teacher, Miss Green, that says, I am somebody. If my mind can't conceive it and my heart can believe it, I know I can achieve it because I am somebody. And what that simply means is that each and every one of you standing in this room today, you're somebody special. You can do anything but fail if you try. Never let anybody tell you that you can't be the best and the brightest at whatever you want to do. And never let anybody stop you from believing in yourself. Bell's going off. It's time for me to stop talking. So again, guys, remember that I am somebody, that you are somebody, and we are very proud of you in the city of Palatka, and we want you to keep up the good work, okay? So let's give them another round of applause. At this time, we'll go ahead and we'll take a group photo of the students. So you guys will line up, and we'll line up for the newspaper. We'll take a break, a quick recess. We'll line up and take a photo of the students, and then we'll form a single file line down this hall, and we'll have your family come up and take pictures with you as well. Okay? We'll stand in recess for a few minutes.
Thank you, ma'am. Like over there on the steps.
Step lower or something.
Okay, everybody, we're going to take a picture. Let's get so let's get all our elementary school students on the front back. And our high school students. All right, so right here. Come on, we'll put you right in the middle. Stand right here. Stand by her. Slide a little bit, let him in. Put you right here in the middle. Pull your certificate up. Okay. You guys step forward into the gaps right here. Come up a little bit. Slide down a little bit. And then a little bit forward. No, you go up. You go back. So we will move on to item 2 of the agenda, which is our public comment section. Public comments will be limited. Action will be taken on topics of discussion. Is there anyone here for public? Seeing no one, we'll close the comment. And we will move to the consent agenda. I know you didn't touch it. I did not. So on the consent agenda, item A, adopt resolution 2017-12-96, authorizing the execution of Passero Associates work orders associated with the Southwest Quadrant Security Project at Palatka Municipal Airport. 3A, AA, Passero work order number 17-53P, in an amount not to exceed $2,600 for permitting of the security fencing, 100% FDOT ready funded. B, Pass Road Work Order number 1753W, in the amount not to exceed $5,450 for revalidation of wetland determination permitting. 3B, adopt resolution number 2017-1297, authorizing the execution of Pass Road Associates Work Order 17- construction admin, monitoring and grant administration assistance for RW 1735 and TWC3 pavement and lighting rehab project. C, adopt resolution 2017-1298, awarding ITB number 2017 to Sterling Enterprises LLC in the amount of $100,393 and authorize execution of a contract agreement for construction of the Southwest Quadrant security fence project at the Palatka Municipal Airport. D, adopt resolution 2017-1299, awarding ITB bid number 2017-09 and contract to JJ Cunningham Incorporated in an amount of $303,260 for runway 927 and 1735 marking rehabilitation, $115,610 FDOT funding, T-Hanger taxi lane pavement rehab, $90,600 FDOT funding, and runway 1735 taxi lane C3 pavement and lighting rehab, $97,050 FDOT and FAA funding at Palatka Municipal Airport. E, adopt resolution 2017-12-100, authorizing the execution of Ayers and Associates scope and fee proposal in the amount of $56,105 for preliminary engineering, bidding, and plans inspection FDEP permit application for the Palatka Heights potable water main improvements project. F, adopt resolution 2017-12-101, ranking responding firms of information technology services per results, or RFQ. G, adopt resolution 2017-12-102, removing and eliminating all code enforcement daily liens and fines on 700 North 7th Street, CE case 2008-00165, Michelle Johnson, owner. Close enough. H, special events permit number 17-45, authorizing closure of certain streets to vehicular traffic to Florida's Healthiest Weight 5K Walk Run, September 30th, 2017, from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. Florida Department of Health, Putnam County, Mary Garcia applicant. I, special events permit number 1747, authorizing closure of streets to vehicular traffic for 5K Friends of Ravines, Garden State Park, 10/21/17, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Ravine Garden State Park, Terry Newsom applicant. J, special events permit number 1717, grant permission to exceed allowable noise levels and authorize road closures for Azalea City Cruisers Car Show, October 28, 2017, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Azalea City Cruisers applicant, Phil Bond, agent. K, special events permit number 1726, grant permission to exceed allowable noise levels for Extreme Bass Series Incorporated State Championship Tournament to be held on Friday, 11/3/2017 and Saturday, 11/4/2017 from 4 a.m. until 6 p.m. Extreme Bass Series Incorporated, Michael Blocher applicant. L, special events permit number 1740, authorizing closure of St. John's Avenue from Memorial Drive to 11th Street to vehicular traffic for Christmas Parade, November 24th, 2017, from 5 p.m. until 9 p.m. downtown Palatka, Sam Deputy applicant. M, special events permit 17-46, approved request items for Haven Hospice benefit dinner and auction, 11/11/17, 5 p.m. until 9:30 at Riverfront Park. Lauren Ferguson, Haven Hospice applicant, grant permission to exceed allowable noise levels throughout the duration of the event, grant permission to sell and consume alcoholic beverages throughout the duration of the event, allow street closure of Memorial Parkway from River Center parking lot to 2nd Street. Are there any items on the consent agenda that you wish to have removed?
I have a question for him.
Are there any other items that we wish to have removed?
Make motion for approval.
Motion to approve the consent agenda minus item M. Is there a second?
Second.
Second on the floor. Any in readiness? Questions called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item M.
I would like to know, they're wanting to do alcohol sales and be able to walk around in the area downtown that they're using. What have we done for the other folks that ask the same thing? I know we do it for a craft festival, but we do it in a certain area, is it?
Thad Pro, Planning Director. Vice Mayor Brown, this is a relatively small event. We've had some like this. It won't be on St. John's Avenue. It'll just be in a small part of the Riverfront Park, essentially. So it'll be structured and contained.
Okay. Well, that was my question, and if that's the way it's going to be, I'll make a motion for it.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
I had the same question. Any other business?
Question.
Questions called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I just didn't want us getting in
That was
trouble.
kind of an echo call there.
Yeah.
So motion passes unanimously. Moving on to public hearing. Item number 4 of the agenda. Second public hearing, trim calendar fiscal year 2017-18. Final budget and millage rate for 2017-2018 budget year, 6.4 mills proposed. Item A, resolution setting the fiscal year 2017-18 millage rate, 6.4 proposed. Hold on, speak. Here it is. Prior to the adoption of the resolutions, which are set property tax and millage rates, chapter 200.065 for Ren 4 for Ren D, Florida statutes requires the following statement to be publicly announced. The taxing authority levying this property tax is the City Commission of the City of Palatka. The rollback rate is 5.6349 mills per $1,000 of assessed value. The percentage increase is 13.58 above the rollback millage rate. The operating millage to be levied is 6.4 mills per $1,000 of assessed value. Item A.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Palatka, Putnam County, Florida, adopting the final levying of ad valorem taxes for the City of Palatka, Putnam County, for fiscal year 2017-2018, and providing for an effective date. Whereas the City Commission of the City of Palatka, Putnam County, Florida, on September 14, 2017, adopted fiscal year 2017-2018 tentative millage rates following a public hearing as required by Florida Statute 200.065. And whereas the City Commission of the City of Palatka, Putnam County, Florida, held a public hearing as required by Florida Statute 200.065, and whereas the gross taxable value for operating purposes not exempt from taxation within the City of Palatka of Putnam County has been certified by the County Property Appraiser to the City of Palatka as $408,746,275. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Commission of the City of Palatka of Putnam County, Florida, number 1, that the fiscal year 2017-2018 operating millage rate for the City of Palatka is 6.4000 mills, which is more than the rolled back rate of 5.6349 mills by 13.58%. Number 2, that this resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption. It shall be passed and adopted by the City Commission of the City of Palatka, Florida, on the 28th day of September, 2017.
So move. Second.
Question.
We got a motion on the floor in a second. We're now opening the floor for public hearing. Is there anyone here for public hearing? Seeing no one, we'll close public hearing. We've got one item of discussion. It should be noted that our millage rate is the same millage rate that it was last year. The reason it's advertised as an increase is because we've had a significant increase in taxable values throughout the county. The increase was in excess of 7% on our tax rolls this year, and so therefore we advertise it as an increase, although the rates are the exact same as they were last year. So our millage rate continues to be the same as it was last year. There is no increase in taxes in the city. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Questions called? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item B, adopt final fiscal year budget 2017-18.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Palatka of Putnam County, Florida, adopting the final budget for fiscal year 2017-2018, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
So move. Second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second. We'll now open the floor for public hearing. Is there anyone here for public hearing? Seeing no one, we'll close public hearing. Is there any further discussion? Questions called by Vice Mayor Brown. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 5, resolution extending the Arts Council agreement for operation and management of Larimer Arts Center building on a month-to-month basis.
A resolution of the City of Palatka, Florida, authorizing the extension of the Arts Council agreement with the Arts Council of Greater Palatka for the operation and management of the Larimer Arts Center building at 210 Reed Street on a month-to-month basis.
So move.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second. We'll now open the floor for public hearing. We've got multiple cards for public hearing on this issue. Prior to us taking statements during public hearing, there was a letter issued by the Arts Council. So, the letter actually came from Ms. Rosemary Anderson. Ms. Anderson, can you come forward at this time?
I'm here as current president of the Arts Council Board of
Can you
Directors.
give your name and address for the record?
Rosemary Anderson, 145 Mount Royal Avenue, Weelaka, Florida.
Thank you.
And my purpose today is to reaffirm the comments that we conveyed to you yesterday by letter, that we intend to fully compete in the competition. We're in the competition for management of the Larimer, and we will be participating in that process. What we specifically would like to urge you to do today is to give us a temporary lease of a period of 5 to 6 months so that we can have the assurance and our participating artists and musicians can have the assurance that the scheduled programs, so we retain them for, can occur without interruption or without learning at the last minute perhaps that things have changed and they can't appear or can't show their work. It would enable us to function and, as I say, provide reassurance to both parties, the artists and our operation. And we think that that's the length of time that it might take to go through the process. So we ask you to do that for us and for the artists involved. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. And there's some others here who have expertise in specific areas if you have a request for information.
Any questions?
You have to book those things ahead, book people ahead.
Yes, we do. And of
Is
course,
6 months enough time to, when you book them ahead to do what you need?
well, of course, we would like more, but we're trying to be realistic that the 6 months probably will cover this consideration process by us, by preparing materials and for your final decision. So
as a point of information, last week, the Arts Council was before the Tourist Development Commission, and events were funded that were planned throughout the year, were planned up until the spring, and at which time they have the ability to come back to a second meeting and ask for additional funding for the remainder of the events, including the concert series and some of the things that we've historically funded for the Arts Council.
I want to say that I think they've been keeping the arts, the museum open, the Laramie open most of the time. Our biggest problem is we got great stuff in this town, but there hasn't been anybody there that has been keeping it open, and I've noticed that if you go there most of the time, you can find somebody there and you can get in there to see it. I just want to make sure that where we are, that we move forward with it instead of just having a big building sitting and getting no use out of it.
we are open 5 days a week. And we always have gallery shows or concerts, and of course we're open for those special occasions. They tend to occur on a Friday or Saturday night. And of course, we will be open to visitors to the town with the Bartram Frolic. So we do keep an extensive opening schedule. And of course, we try to accommodate special events like the Frolic, etc.
I have something else I'd like to bring to your attention. For a long time, I sat back and see where, this is not for the Laramie, this is somewhere else I want to bring up, but it has to do with maybe what you're thinking about. For a long time, I've wanted to see dinner theater somewhere in this town. And we have an ideal building to do it periodically if we had those people who wanted to do it there. Price Martin, when we got it, there's a stage, they took it out, and they took it down to Booker Park, but it could be brought back. I don't know what they did with, the curtains weren't good, but the frames and stuff were good for it. Woody moved it without saying anything to any of us about it, but we need to be adding stuff instead of taking stuff away. And I want to plant the seed in maybe, if they got together, we have two high schools, or one high school that has a chef that's training young people. It would be a way of helping to train young people with dinner theater, and we have people doing theater presentations all the time, and they have a place to go in. There's two, when we did that building, there's 2 rooms on the side for dressing rooms, and then there's a place that you can purchase tickets and stuff outside and store some stuff in there. And we have not really been utilizing that building except for a few things that people have. And I like to plant some of the seeds in the artists that we have in the town, that it might be a good way for us to stretch things out and make this town a place that we had a lot of stuff going. Because young people say we don't have anything to do, but you can have music and theater and all this things. I just want to make sure you got my point. I know y'all into the sports. We into the arts now.
Stereotypes.
No, I'm not. I'm into the sports too.
Arts.
You will be more artsy. I'm seeing
Thank you very much, Ms. Anderson.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions, comments, or concerns? If not, we'll move on to our next part. Ms. Kitchen.
He's smiling.
26 art classes in college.
You did. All right.
Allegra Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. I totally disagree with you doing this on a month-to-month basis. As Ms. Anderson said, the Arts Council has things booked months ahead. I like the idea, if you're going to consider kicking the Arts Council out and send out other RFPs and look at other people, that's fine. I understand you have to do that. Or you probably have to do that. Maybe you don't have to do that, but Ms. Anderson said that they had booked Mr. Hill, Mayor Hill, I think you said that they had gotten the tourist development funds funded through the spring. So I think it would be certainly advisable, if you are going to indeed send out RFPs and have other entities to come in to compete, that you at least extend their lease till the spring, and 6 months would be March, and sometime in March I think is actually the first day of spring. So I think the least you could do is extend their, give them a 6-month lease, which would take you till March, and then send out your RFPs, and that would give you time to interview people and people to get business plans. But the Arts Council of Greater Palatka at one time wanted to change their name, and because Palatka owns the Larimer Arts right now, and they convinced the Arts Council to keep the name Greater Palatka, and the Arts Council kept that name and stayed in Palatka to help Palatka. And they put on a lot of programs, not just one little thing in one little area of the theater. They have the riverfront concerts, they have the chalk exposition, and they do have the art shows and photography shows, and it is all year long, and it's booked ahead of time, and they see thousands and thousands and thousands of people come through that Larimer. And I think you need to take that into extreme consideration before you decide to give it to another little group. It's a good group, but like Ms. Lawson said, I think we do need a theater in this town, but I think we need a separate theater in another building. And I doubt Ms. Burke would sell the Coca-Cola building, but there is a full theater.
Mr. Sell,
Is it? There's a full theater upstairs in the Coca-Cola building, and perhaps the city could get some type of a historic grant or an arts grant or something, and buy that, and then the River City Repertory could have they'd have a ready-made stage and a complete sitting area, and that would be wonderful for them to have that building. But I do urge you to at least extend the grant, at least for 6 months. Don't do it on a month-to-month basis, because they've already got the money and got these things planned ahead of time, and if you do that, you've effectively shut them down and put them out of business, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dean Parrish. State your name and address for the record, for me, sir.
My name is Dean Parrish. I live at 320 Dodge Street in Black, Florida. I am the current Vice President on the Board of the Arts Council, and I appreciate y'all seeing us today. I would also just like to reiterate basically what's already been said here. It's very difficult to do the programs and all the things that we already have planned without an extended period of time. I do agree it should at least be 6 months so that we can work on some of the things that we have here. And also, I think that the next, you were talking about the TDC and everything, I think the next process is in March, and that would be at 6 months. So it's going to be, time-wise, it will be kind of dicey to, if it ends right around then, to try to get more funding and stuff without knowing. So that's really all I have to say, and that when we do get to the process and submit things, which I'm sure that we will, we think that the Arts Council, its work stands on itself. We always serve the city and the county at large, and so and we hope to continue to be able to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no other speakers, we've got one, Ms. Van Rensburg.
Mayor, Commissioners, Elizabeth Van Rensburg, 310 North 3rd Street, Palatka, Florida. May I begin by saying that I'm here as a representative of a 13-member board of directors for River City Players. It's my job to represent what they direct me to do as their president. I did not ask that any of them speak to you unless they wanted to. They replied that they asked me to represent them, so I speak for them. Pursuing the lease on the Larimer Art Center is by no means a power struggle between individuals or organizations. What it is the first opportunity that River City Players has had in 20 years to, as an organization, put themselves in the running for an agreement on the Larimer Art Center. I'd like for the commissioners to please bear in mind that our home is the Scarlet Hill Theater. We built it many years ago. It's been our home for many years. We love it. We've recently spent a great deal of time and money and cooperative partnerships to renovate it, and it's beautiful. We used to, many years ago, be a theater company that bounced around. We were at what was then the Holiday Inn. We were at the Price Martin Center. But we found a home at the Scarlet Hill Theater inside of the Larimer, which wasn't a theater until we made it the Scarlet Hill Theater. And we've been very happy there ever since. I had a bunch of notes, but you know what, I'm speaking from our hearts at this point, not really looking at the notes. We have not been, as an organization, represented on the agreement with the city of Palatka, who owns the building for 20 years. That's a bit of an interesting position to be in. You have a home, you love your home, you're working to make your home better, but you don't really have any kind of legal standing. We by no means are in any shape or form trying to dissolve the Arts Council. We can't. We don't have that power. The only person that could dissolve the Arts Council is the Arts Council Board of Directors. What we're saying is we are a business organization, a professional business organization that has a business plan that has worked extremely well for us. In the past 5 years, we have done exactly what we have set out to do as our mission statement, and that is provide fantastic amateur theater to all of Putnam County and the rest of North Florida, as it turns out. And over this time, we also have some financial backing, which is very exciting. Because of our business plan, we have money in the bank that will allow us to do things for the Larimer, which will be a big part of our business plan, which, by the way, has been here at City Hall since June. Mr. Suggs requested that we drop our business plan off, and it's been here. I'm not going to speak about it because it's here in the building, and I know that you're going for an RFP process, which is what we believe that should happen. As far as a 6-month lease, my board of directors has not given me a directive on how to answer how we feel about that question. But I will tell you that we as an organization also received TDC funding at that meeting that is also covered until March. And we are able, without being an entity on this agreement, to plan an entire season. So it's doable. We just want to do what's best for the Larimer and Putnam County. Thank you very much.
Can I say something? Am I allowed to, I did not fill out a card.
If you can come up, just promise me you'll fill out the card before you sit back down.
Yes. I might stutter because I get nervous.
What's your name and address for the record?
Denise Aiken, 118 Waterway Avenue, Satsuma, Florida, or the Larimer. I have a couple things I would like to say. First of all, I know that you've probably read our mission statement. If I may read that, so that everybody can know. The Putnam County Commissioners and the State Division of Cultural Affairs recognize the Arts Council of Greater Palaca as the official local arts agency representative of Putnam County in 1975. That's the year it was incorporated. The Arts Council of Greater Palaca has served the umbrella organization for arts and cultural events in Palaca and Putnam County. Our mission is to provide arts and culture in the county. We're a nonprofit. We're 42 years strong. I agree with Elizabeth about the theater. However, in the beginning, River City was noted in a 3-year lease as that being their space. Nor does the Arts Council want to see them leave. My husband built the theater. He came in, it was just the stacks. So I'm very passionate about it. My daughter grew up in there. Again, worked right alongside her father and the early River City groups. We had problems along the way. We worked them out. When the new River City came in, I said great things. I've always been pro River City, but I'm not going to say that the Arts Council hasn't put many years. And do we make as much money? No, but we're not supposed to. We deliver to our community, to the underserved. That is part of our mission, designated. And when it comes to the 6-month lease, and I get very upset, but this has affected my most favorite program, which is my children's underground class, which are for children who cannot afford the classes. The school board helps us support that for 18 years. I apply grants to the state for putting programs into the schools. Not all of our programs are in the Larimer, but many of them are. If I can't show the school board that I'm going to have this space for those children, where are they going to go? Why would they fund me? Why would they fund the Arts Council if we can't say we're going to be there? When we have programs and it's only $5 to come in, there's a reason for that. Because we live in an underserved county. Everybody deserves to have culture in their life. It's called accessibility. Accessibility in our county isn't just how much you can afford or who you are, it's where you are. Therefore, we serve all of Putnam County.
as well as at the Larimer. We've had events that just go, okay, I'm so upset. I want to say this to begin with. Elizabeth asked us several months ago to set a schedule for them a year ahead of time. They have that schedule on the calendar through 2/18. She came to Evie and I, and she said, last year's schedule worked, let's go with that. And with each and every time they come to me and they say they need more time to set up, I give away one of our events and said, okay. So I'm at a loss. If it's about having security of being in the building, come and talk to us. I full-heartedly support. Again, why wouldn't I?
You got 30 seconds.
So I just want you to know that that schedule that everybody's talking about, they are on the calendar for a year through 2/18. Their dates are set. She asked for them and we gave them to her. So I appreciate you.
Any questions?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Questions, comments, concerns?
Well, I'm trying to understand why we're here. If we initially you all had a year's, I guess you went year to year, and then we dropped it down to
20-year lease.
20
years. Oh, it was something. This is a renewal.
It's a 20-year lease that expired in August.
First,
So
month to month.
So after that, so with the expiration of the lease,
Just a month.
we've got to deal with it because it goes from that point, in essence, to a month.
And I do understand her point about we have nothing that says we belong here. We've never asked for them to leave. We wouldn't want them to leave. We need community theater. It is a very important part of culture and the arts in our county. And again, 3 years when we went into that building, and I only know this because my husband was there, there was one that River City was on there, that they were given the area of the stacks to build a theater.
The issue of nominal leases, and that's what these are commonly referred to, is one that kind of came up in some detail, and I think it was actually before you were on the commission. Essentially, the town has a number of properties that it makes available to groups for nominal amounts of money, i.e. $1 a year, $1 a month, or whatever. The Attorney General has offered opinions on that practice and has kind of prescribed some guidelines, because in actuality, you're obviously taking taxpayer property, government property, and you're for all intents and purposes giving it to somebody for their use. So of course, there are a number of guidelines and criteria. But one of the overriding factors that the AG's office has stated is that the nominal year lease shouldn't be for a long period. It shouldn't be for 20 years, because in essence, then you're taking that government property, that taxpayer property, and you're giving it away for a long time. So we tried to review the nominal leases. Betsy, you may be able to remember about the time frame, but it was a few years ago. I can't tell you exactly when. We
In the early 2000s.
Okay, even more than a few years ago, actually, I guess. But we took, who's counting? But all the city's nominal leases were actually brought before the commission of council, and we tried to apply the Attorney General's test to them all, and and then go from there. So it isn't. I would just tell you that it's not a matter of anyone singling anybody out. In fact, it's just the opposite. We stand to be in for criticism, if not more, if we don't adhere to those guidelines. So part of that guideline process is they've had it for 20 years. I'm not saying they've done a bad job, good job. I'm not weighing into that at all. But I believe it behooves you, since that lease is up, to now take a look at, finding out if there is competing interest for the facility, and then I believe
once you decide where it's going to go, the lease needs to be substantially shorter. I'm not saying it has to be for a year, but 3 years, something like that is what we traditionally look at as a suitable lease.
Yes.
Now, if we were putting it out for a bid on a market basis, well, that's a whole different ballgame. If somebody's paying a market rate for it, that's a different game altogether. But when you're actually giving the property for basically free, you understand the considerations.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Oh, you want to say something first?
It doesn't matter, I just want to have the opportunity.
I just wanted to give you a little history. The reason the Larry used to be our library, and we teamed with the county, and they had half their staff county, part of their staff county, and part city. Well, they asked for a committee, and when we knew anything, the college had given them some land, and they took our library and moved it away and left a beautiful building with nothing in it. People came forth and said that they would like for us to keep arts and culture, which is a big part of towns. It should be. Every town needs art and culture. And so it was lent to the Arts Council to use it as they best saw fit, and to do it so that more people could use it, just not a few. So when we look at it, it's been there for a while, and I know that lease has been a long lease. But back in that time, I guess we were giving leases that long. I would like to see them still stay there and keep art and culture. I don't know why they can't still have both entities in there. They've been in there a while. They ought to be able, if they don't want to go somewhere else, operate out of it with some concerns. And I'd like to give them some time to get it worked out, because I think both entities, I wouldn't want to just see just art in there or just plays and musicals and things in there. I like to see it a full center and have it open so that people who cannot afford, we got a lot of folks in this town. I want our kids to be able to afford the arts and the Arts Council. I don't broadcast it because people always ask you, can you draw me something? But I majored in fine arts in college for the simple reason I thought I wanted to give back to this town. I also took theory and practiced some dance so that I could learn how to write it and do it, and came back home with the idea of giving free lessons to kids that I had a business to run and couldn't quite get started. We do need art and culture in our community, and I'd like to see them have it for a length of time. It takes a little while to get your artists in. It takes a while to do plays and things and get them done, and you can't do them sometimes from a month-to-month basis. It's just like booking the craft festival. You have to do it ahead of time so you get good quality stuff in. So I would like to see us maybe look at amending the time we give them, or work out a way that we could see if they could work together, that both people could use it and work together for better art in this town. We need it.
I think that.
Let me close public hearing real quick. We'll close public hearing at this time, and then we'll move on to this discussion from the commission. Go ahead.
I certainly have no objection to extending it for 6 months from a legal perspective, but I do believe that you need to open the competition up to whoever might want to submit a proposal, because there might be somebody else, a citizen from the city, who wants to submit a proposal as to how it's to be used. I'm not prejudging any of them, and I'm not going to be the one to judge them anyway. It's just that when you're taking city property and you're giving it to someone for free, it's only fair that you open that competition up to whomever wants to submit a proposal.
I got to ask you this. Are they both making money off of what they do in there?
I have no
or
idea.
Or is it they just making enough money to operate the place? Or are they putting, I know they said they upgraded the building and stuff, and they have money. You know, we got buildings in here that we let people use, and a lot of people can't use them. I ran because they wanted to give the neighborhood facility away. I don't know if y'all know where the neighborhood facility is, but it's Jenkins. And I was really upset to see that they were taking the energy that took away from our children. Our people, our young people need a place to go, and they need to have culture. They need, just like they need to know sports and get that training. We've got kids here that can draw and paint and sing and dance and act that need that exposure. They don't have money to pay for it. And we have not, we closed Price Martin down and set a price there that most people, it just sits there a lot of times unless somebody has a reunion. And we have some responsibility to our citizens, no matter who they are, that how rich or how poor they are. And they have a responsibility to be able to use these buildings without having to pay all the time. And that's one of the things that I look at. Because everything now seems, and I know we need to have money to operate, but sometimes we got to operate to make it better for other people.
Well said.
Okay, I would like to say that I'm not opposed to any others that would like to come in and compete for, to get the building and for proposals, but I want to go back and ask Mr. Holmes. You said something about 3 years being a feasible amount of time to go into an agreement with some interesting entities.
I have nothing in favor of or against these.
I understand that. Yes, I'm just
At all. It's a concept, not a specific instance with me.
Mm-hmm.
You have city-owned property,
Yes.
whether it's that, whatever it is, a building that we've got 8 or 9, Betsy, nominal leases.
There are 4 that are renewed every year. There are others that have other terms. We have
Okay, so you got 6, 7, whatever, 8, 9 of them. City property, city-owned property. The point simply is for us to pick out, you to pick out one group and say, y'all can have that for 20 years. It has been actually stated by the Attorney General as being inappropriate because it's city property. So how you judge those who apply is up to you as long as it's a fair assessment. But the point should be that periodically that should be opened up to see who has a proposal to use that building. And you can judge what they propose to do, how they propose to make it available to the public. You can judge, you can use all those criteria in deciding who you give it to. So it's just the fact that needs to be refreshed every so often. And 1 year is certainly, 1 year is kind of the example used by the AG's office, but you can stretch it out more than 1 year. But when you start getting up above 3, that's getting to be a point where you're.
We got the Bridge Club that's been in that building, and we do it on a what, year?
We should do it on a 3-year and then
3
do
years.
it 1 year.
Okay, we got them, we got, one time the Red Cross was in the other part, now we got the food people in there. What other places? We got other places that we do.
Remember them all, I just know we had 4 or 5. Tillman House?
Yeah, Tillman House.
And the
Keep Putnam Beautiful, yes. So we've got several of them that we do on, a 3-year basis?
So 1 year.
1 year.
1 year nobles. They're 1 year.
Okay, well, I think that we should look at how we do the rest of them.
I think in that conversation, I'll let you're waiting to make your point.
okay. I'm sorry. Thanks, Mayor. And with that being said, I appreciate the fact that Mrs. Anderson represented the board and agreed to go into a 6-month agreement with us for it to continue to stay there. But I absolutely don't mind considering a 3-year agreement with them.
But you haven't opened it up for anybody else.
Where we are right now is.
But after the 3 years, can we?
Well, this is where we are. Their lease has expired.
Yes.
And so that lease has expired for 20 years. In order to, in essence, bring them into some form of certainty for a set period of time, their initial, what's placed on the agenda now is to give them a month-to-month lease. Their request is that they at least have 6 months so that they have certainty as it relates to the schedule and the things that they put out for this coming season in order to be in place. And so within the board, basically what I'm getting from council, without overstepping my bounds, is that we have the ability as the commission at this time, it's not overreaching, to take the month-to-month request and actually make it a 6-month extension of, make it a 6-month lease as opposed to a month-to-month request from, and give authorization to enter into a 6-month lease agreement, because in essence, the lease that's there now is a month-to-month holdover tenancy. And so what that means is that tenancy is ended. They're on a holdover basis right now. We can enter into basically a 6-month extension of sorts with them, which says, hey, from this day until this day, or 6-month period, you have the same tenancy rights that you had previously. And after that period of time, we will go into an RFP. Within that period of time, we'll go into an RFP process, and we will determine whether you are awarded that or any other entity that's come in. It'll be a determination as to how the next tenancy takes place. But for 6 months, you would be in there, or for a month, every month you would be in there, extended month to month based upon whatever's in place. Depends on whatever the commission wants to do. But it's not overreaching to allow them to take the request into place. I think that in lieu of what's been committed both by River City and by the Arts Council, that 6 months is not, it's not far-reaching. It is, it's reasonable. In a perfect world, I would love to see these two entities interact together and we not be at this place. We've consistently we've heard together we're better, and I hope that in any regards we don't find a separation of the two entities. But there again is growth, and so that's what the RFP process does. It causes everybody to put their best foot forward, and you put your cards on the table, and then there's a process, there's a criteria that has to be set, and there has to be direction given by the commission as to what factors are in there, and so that's what moves this process forward. So that's I hope that kind of answers your question.
And if I do have more questions. So you're saying basically we do have the ability to decide whether or not we're going to do a 6-month, a 1 year, a 3 year. It's up to us to make that determination. Am I right?
No, I don't agree with that. I don't think that at this point you have the right to, I shouldn't say right, because I guess you do what you want to do, but I don't believe it would be appropriate to extend it for 3 years. 6 months, the lease expired. We initially set it for month to month, but they've suggested that that's not workable because of their scheduling and their need to schedule, and that sounds like a legitimate concern and consideration for me from a legal perspective, since they've had it all this time and they've made plans. So 6 months would give them time for that certainty. You could open up your RFP process in that meantime, and then at the end of 6 months, you could award it for 3 years to somebody. Might be them again. They might submit a joint proposal. Who knows? In the mayor's perfect world, they might submit a joint proposal and get it in 3 years. But to now give it to 3 more years, give them 3 more years means you turn a 20-year lease into a 23-year lease. That's not going, in my opinion, the way the AG's office says you should go.
And it's like, it's kind of like everything else that we've done over the years. It's looking at what the auditors did when we looked at our contracts for services over with the last audit, for example. We looked at all those contracts that have been out there for a number of years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, that hadn't been up for bid again. And what you saw was cleaning up those processes, bringing in shorter-term contracts, shorter-term awards, so that those contracts remain competitive over time. Because we just didn't want to homestead, for lack of any other term, any particular entity without being able to kind of open the field and play up. But I do think, in fairness to the Arts Council, who's done a wonderful job with the things that they've done, I don't think month-to-month is fair. I think month-to-month leaves uncertainty for everyone, and it's not fair in the process of what's there. I would wholeheartedly be in favor of, a 6-month extension or extension in that range, which allows them to be able to complete their season. And it comes at a time where TDC meets again, where other entities meet, and you can at least start to make some planning. And if we move forward with the RFP process, get that done in a time prior to that March meeting, then it puts us in a position where everybody kind of at least has a working, they can at least understand where they are and make adjustments if necessary.
Well, can we amend get that motion amended,
Yes, ma'am.
to do that, and,
Who made the motion?
they,
I'll make it, but I think
No,
one of
no,
y'all.
I think one of y'all, we got to amend it.
Who made the original motion?
So I just want to go back for a minute, and I'm sorry.
Well,
I mean, I'm
no,
getting quiet, but
that's
if we're doing an annual lease for the other 4 or 5 nominal, the ones that are in it, why is it that we can't consider it
Because
for
this
them?
lease is expired.
There's
already.
still-
And I understand, okay, and how do we get to the point of it being expired? I mean, is this something that we do prior to it expiring? I mean, how do we get to this point?
It's been 20 years, and
I know, and it was coming up, so do we meet prior to it? I mean, just explain this process to me.
it's a 20-year lease. It has no automatic renewal process. It has no notice. It has no
So-
notice provision in the lease other than a notice for termination based upon what's in the lease. So once that lease expires, then you technically go to a month-to-month tenancy. And so at that point, you don't need to renew it. On a month-to-month basis, anybody can give notice, but the way the lease is set up, it has to be 90-day notice based upon what's in place. So in essence, it's kind of a
That's my,
90-day
the
lease.
answer's my, okay.
So it's not technically a month-to-month lease. And so, because it takes 90 days notice before you can terminate. And so,
Basically.
so that's how we kind of got here. So,
You need to amend the motion, I think.
Commissioner Warren made the original motion and you seconded it. Anyone can make a motion to amend the original motion to
you
make it
want to
6
withdraw your motion?
Okay, I like to withdraw my motion
And I withdraw
initially,
myself.
and I'll allow for you to make the.
I make the motion that we give them the 6 months extension and get it worked out. And I like to,
Second.
okay, I like to say to them, I would wish that you all could get together and do the job you've been doing in there before together. We have a thing with the city. I know you don't want to do it. I hear you decide. We have a thing, I tell them and they tell me, we're better together. And we're trying to move this town. We want this to be a place people will look forward to coming to, and we'll have wonderful stuff for them to see and do. And we're trying to work hard to get that done. So.
Does your motion include a direction that we issue a request for proposals as to who is going to manage and under what terms the facility, put that proposal, that request out in the next 3 months?
I guess if you need to do that, I'll do that.
Definitely need to do it.
If we need to do that, let's do it.
It's in the resolution.
It's in the resolution, she said, all right.
So the motion on the floor.
Second.
To extend for 6 months with the direction to put an RFP out within 90 days.
So basically, what you're doing is you're requesting to amend, you're seeking to amend the resolution. The resolution now, that's before you had provided that it's extended beginning September 1, 17 on a month-to-month basis. So you're changing section 1 of the resolution to read that their lease is extended for a period of 6 months, correct? From today's date. And then the rest of the resolution will remain the same, which would direct staff to go ahead and request proposals seeking responses from nonprofit local arts agencies wishing to operate and maintain a Larimer Arts Center building, correct?
That's good.
And is that what your second was?
Yes.
Okay. So we're voting on the motion as amended, is that correct?
You need to say.
No, we're not as amended on the new motion. His motion was withdrawn.
Okay.
So on the new motion, so we got a motion on the floor and a second by Commissioner Moore. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, questions called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. I think there's a long history. There's a rich history of those organizations working together. And this was a much needed conversation. This conversation has kind of been the crux of the conversation over the last month or so that we've had around here. And it's just Putnam and Palatka, people working together for the greater good. So
Everything good we got, the county like the sheriff.
So, moving the agenda to item 6, ordinance amending chapter 66, chapter 86, and appendix A, fee schedule for code of ordinance for solid waste utility rates and fees set forth in the fee schedule, second reading and adopts.
Ordinance of the City of Palatka, Florida, amending Chapter 66, Chapter 86, and Appendix A, fee schedule of the municipal code of the City of Palatka as it pertains to solid waste, utilities, and fees, and other charges relating to solid waste and utilities, providing for severability and providing an effective date of October 1, 2017.
So move.
Second.
It's motion on the floor in a second. Is there anyone here for public hearing? Got a speaker card from this kitchen.
I withdraw that. I don't need to say anything more, thank you.
Sure?
I'm sure.
Is there anyone else here for public hearing? Seeing no one, we'll close public hearing. Is there any further discussion from the commission? Seeing none, question is called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 7 of the agenda. Ordinance amending Chapter 38, flood regulations to comply with most current FEMA-approved floodplain management program, second reading.
Ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Palatka, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 38, floods, to make modifications to bring the regulations into agreement with the most current FEMA-approved Code Companion Floodplain Management Ordinance for Florida communities, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
So move.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor in a second. Is there anyone here for public hearing? Seeing no one, we'll close public hearing. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Questions called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item 8, request for execution of a letter of agreement to allow the Florida National Guard to conduct radar training exercises at the Palatka Municipal Airport.
Mr. Yule?
Sergeant Zula and his team came out to the airport about 3 or 4 months ago and asked if we had some space that they could occasionally set up some training equipment. It's our local National Guard unit. Well, that would involve about 4 or 5 trucks per site, and anywhere from 20 to 30 people. We drove around the airport and found places that they could set up. It will not interfere with normal operations. They just want to set up their radars, and they were not every once in a while locked on an airplane that's coming into Palatka or flying by or leaving Palatka or something like that. Yes, sir. And it's not unusual. Pilots of little airplanes know that happens every once in a while. It doesn't bother us. So anyway, we got a couple of places that I think will work very well. And if you have any questions, please.
Yeah, thanks, Sergeant. No, I just, I'm here, Mr. Mayor and Commission, if you have any questions about, the capabilities of the equipment, what exactly we would be doing on the sites, and then, a little bit of the process that we have to complete. I know there were some questions that Mr. Yule posed to me about any kind of liability for anything that would be damaged or anything like that, or any injuries to our soldiers. So I didn't know if you had any questions like that I could potentially answer for you guys to help make your decisions.
Just for the record, Council, you reviewed it at this point?
I have. I've been assured by Mr. Yule that their radar tracking exercises won't interfere with any navigational or landing systems of any aircraft trying to land at the airport.
Yes, sir.
And you're not shooting bullets, so.
No, sir, no live ordnance, nothing like that. And just it gives us a little bit more area to operate in. There's a lot of ground clutter near the armory, so when we set up our radars there, we get a lot of feedback from trees, power poles, stuff like that. So the airport gives us a little bit more room to flex our muscles and do some quality training with our soldiers.
Well, that's a World War II airport that we were blessed with, that they gave us. And we need protection. I'd rather have y'all here than gone.
Yes,
You just doing just the, are you doing the flights that normally come in and or leave the Ken Larkin Airport?
Yes,
or
sir.
Just anything in the space?
Basically, we would set the radar up at the airport. We would detect incoming aircraft, and then what the system allows us to do is it's a wireless network. So the radar would identify that aircraft coming in, and then we can send that, it's called track. They can hook that track and send it to one of our Avengers, which is the actual fire unit that, in a combat environment, that would be the system that would actually shoot down an enemy aircraft. So they can take this track and they can send that data information wirelessly to this Avenger, so that way they know, hey, there's an aircraft coming in. They don't need to be right there near the radar. So our plan is to have the radar set up at the airport and send the tracks to the Avengers that could possibly be back at the armory or at another site there in the airport.
You do know the planes that fly in and out of here are not coming as fast as the ones that's in the...
Yes.
We do. I could probably look across and tell you, oh, we got something coming in.
That's a good point.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Motion to let them use the properties
A strong second.
Got a motion to approve the letter of agreement.
A strong second.
Strong second.
Strong second.
You hear him, Sarge? Yeah, I hear him. So the motion on the floor is a strong second. Is there any further discussion? I don't think so. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously.
That means you got to really take care of it.
That's right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Strong second.
Oh, yeah. That's a new one.
So, moving on, city manager search. Seems like we've been here before.
Yeah, I think we have it. Wanted to add this to the agenda. Betsy went ahead and pulled together all of the information from the previous city manager search, including the classified ad that was put out. Also put forward interview questions and the interview ranking sheets. I wanted to get feedback from the commission on how and since I think all of the commissioners were here, with the exception of Commissioner Williams, were here during the previous city manager search, wanted to get feedback from the commission on did we want to modify the search a little bit, because what we did last time was we appointed a committee similar to what the county just did. But the county did theirs a little bit differently. They had one-on-one interviews with each commissioner and their appointee, and then they had an open interview for everyone to attend with the entire commission and the entire committee. So just want to get feedback from commissioners on how they thought the previous search went, if they want to follow that exact same pattern, or if we want to modify that in any way, shape, or form.
Anybody go first?
Well, I said I've been here for, how many, 5 of them?
She's
I'm tired.
tired.
And at one time we did have a commissioner meet with whoever they appointed to do it, and they kind of asked questions one-on-one, gave them a more personal feeling of a little bit more about the person than just having them come in. Sometimes you need to look them in the eyes, guys. So whatever you all decide, it's fine with me.
I personally think that when we review what we had the last time, I got the interviews were pretty generic. The interviews were generic. I don't think you can ask those interview questions. If you've got professional city managers or you got professionals who've had some type of business experience, they're going to answer a lot of those questions very similarly, and you'll find yourself going through the same. You go through the same stuff. But for me, the one-on-ones, that kind of rotating thing that we did, the one-on-ones at the Holiday Inn, at the Riverfront Inn. It gave you an opportunity to get a better feel for who those individuals were. I do think there's some value in having a committee, but I think having the committee this time, as opposed to how we did last time when Mr. Bush selected the individuals for the committee, I think to me, if you're going to have the committee, then the committee needs to be, each commissioner should be able to appoint an individual
I agree with that.
to sit on that committee. But there has to be, I think the questions have to be real questions, that the commission has input on those questions, but also allowing for an opportunity for the community to come in and ask questions.
Yes.
Because I think that part of it is different. I think having questions come in from the community may be a little different. But I think ultimately we have to work with that individual. It has to be someone who meets the field test. And I think that test comes from those one-on-ones where you get to ask the difficult questions that most people don't ask. And sometimes you get more candor in that private setting, kind of like what you have with the county, than you do necessarily in a public forum. You get more the politically correct answer, or you get kind of the polished answer. As we say that, Mr. Suggs walks right in the door.
We have done that with somebody, I don't know if it was city manager or police chief or somebody, we did that before. And I think that one-on-one with the commission, each one of the commissioners, we had to do it one-on-one, that it gives us a different feel for, and them a feel for us that might help us in our decision, because we sure have people that do it one time.
So I think the biggest thing is, I think the biggest question is, do we use the league to review the initial applications, to, and eliminate, or do we use the committee?
Well, they have what do they call them? Rough Riders?
Range Riders.
Range Riders. They have
That's the motorcycle group.
That's all right, they ride. They have a group that will go through and kind of help to look and pick out folks. But I wouldn't want us to sit down and they send 50 or 60 applications for us to go through. I want somebody else to get it down to a few.
I would suggest that we employ the same process that we had before, except we appoint the people to the committee. Each commissioner appoint one person to the committee. And I think what that does is it tailors it a little bit more. Because the thing about it is, while the people who were in the committee before were very qualified people, we don't see them. On a day-to-day basis, we don't see them in here, and they're not here. They're not in this room regularly, and we need people who I think definitely have a vested interest in the outcome. And so that's just my comment. Any questions, comments?
That's well said.
Yes. You guys
I don't know.
I think that's where we are. The next thing is the timetable of when we put this on the streets. Also, so that there isn't, I think with Mr. Reynolds being involved in the process, we need to turn the process over to someone other than Mr. Reynolds if he's going to be applying for the position, so that there is no other questions out there. And so I would say turn it over to HR and turn it over to let HR and Betsy work on this thing together along with council. So the three of them work on the process, and that kind of gets us where we need to be. Are you two okay with that?
I am.
Okay. So you're taking up with that.
Don't seem to do it.
So, but I think what that does is that allows us to be able to work through that So the three of you work in concert together. We've already got the language for the RFP. If anything needs to be, whatever needs to be amended or whatever, we kind of work through it. I think we give them autonomy to do that, to put that in place. The language is pretty much the same as what we had before. And then we just kind of go from there. So that way, there won't be, any issues with, saying the questions were released prior to and all the other things. Very well.
Well summed
Do
up.
we need a motion directing, just for housekeeping purposes, just get a motion directing that RFP be put on the streets, that'd be put on the streets within what period of time?
What will be
So within 30 days?
Yes. I motion to approve the RFP be sent out, put out on the streets or whatever for 30 days.
Search
or
for
put out.
city manager.
Is that giving y'all enough time? You know, you got
Everything's-
3 people, huh?
Everything's drafted pretty much.
Okay.
So,
Just make sure
an RFP
they already got jobs.
RFP for a city manager search within 30 days.
You can do it immediately if you need to.
Wow.
So, 7?
So an RFP for an RFP,
That'd be-
an advertisement to be put out within 7 days for a new city manager. Am I right?
Motion on the floor, there's a second. Any discussion? Questions, call all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously.
Wow.
You back already, Terry?
Get it done. Couldn't miss.
Administrative reports. Mr. Griffin, I will not, before we do that, I want to make sure that I recognize our friends from Rod Solutions. So, Sam, we're glad to have you here. Definitely appreciate
We need the bus.
Mr. Griffin.
Thank you, sir. I just want to give an update on the storm cleanup. We're about 2.5 weeks in, and so far we've got about 50% of the city picked up the first pass. We have 4 trucks running, 2 crews. Currently, we have a crew in the South Historic District trying to get everything looking good for the weekend for Barton Frolic, and we have a crew out at Country Club Heights working that area around the golf course right now. We are going through all the facilities. We met with a structural engineer at the League of Cities, afforded us yesterday, and they did an assessment of the city's docks as well as some other damage that we sustained there. And we are currently soliciting quotes for repairs and passing that information to Ms. Striggers, to the league, and hopefully we'll start to see things return to normal here pretty soon.
Yes, sir.
Any questions about any projects?
What you would like to share?
What about that other part of Madison Street that I asked you about?
We are having difficulty getting Halifax to report to work. I think they have probably been awarded some FDOT jobs recently, and we're just kind of very low on the list. If they don't report back and do the work, we'll just include that area when we let some more jobs at the first of the year.
Okay, thank you, sir.
How about the terminal coming?
It's coming along great, Ms. Brown. It's nearing completion. If you'd like, I can take you through sometime this week or maybe next week.
I've been through there.
That doesn't surprise me.
I was gonna say any word on the other boat.
No, ma'am. I did try to reach out to Mr. Cunningham this week, and his assistant told me that he traveled overseas for a funeral. They're expecting to back tomorrow, so I will try and call him. That wasn't nice. Just relaying the message.
I did get in reference to that question, I did get an email from the bond attorney Monday, Tuesday this week, indicating that, and forwarding to me an invoice that Mr. Cunningham's attorney had provided him showing theoretically that he had ordered the motors, but it didn't indicate that they had been paid for, and it didn't indicate they'd been shipped, which I pointed out in a return email, and he said he understood, but he was told that it was happening, so whatever.
We will be scheduling another visit here in the next 1 to 2 weeks.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Chief.
We are running everything as far as day-to-day business, getting back prepared from the storm. We are pleased to announce that with October coming up, we have the Trunk or Treat and the Fall Festival that we are preparing for, and anxiously waiting. We will be, after the Oktoberfest is over, as the calendar year starts coming to an end, we will be having a report for the commission as far as the events we participated within the community. I think it's something that we've done a great job on over the year, and would like to be able to show it to you all of our progress and preparing for what we've done throughout our goals.
Got a mentoring program going on today, right?
Yes, we do. Actually, we also started up Cops and Kids Bowling, which is every Monday at the bowling alley. We actually have a lot of things going on with events throughout the city. The mentoring program is participating in the Cops and Kids Bowling, and they are meeting today at Hope Plaza, which is going to be a large group, and it's been very helpful as far as to be able to fit all of those individuals in that meeting room.
Cops, kids, and commissioners?
For bowling? Cops, kids, and commissioners are welcome. Yes, sir.
Can we do something, see if maybe we can do something at Boys Ranch and find a mentoring program you got?
Sure. Willing to sit down at the table and find whatever we are able to do, as we do with most of the other organizations within the community.
I'm glad you mentioned that because with my sorority, Alpha Delta Kappa, we work closely with the boys' range. So if I can be on board with that, that would be glad.
I'm president of the board, so whatever you need, let me
know.
Oh.
We go over his
Do I need to kick him under the table and make it move?
But yeah, I think that'll be something good to, for our kids, for a lot of the kids that come through the PAL program, to actually have that interaction. You know, also getting people back like Emmanuel Fagan, for example, to kind of share realities. So
are you talking about? Are you talking about bringing some of the boys from the ranch in to participate in some of the programs, or what?
If there's availability with the mentoring program, if there's some, and seeing if maybe there's an opportunity to kind of bring it together. That'd be something.
I'm not sure. I don't want to speak out of turn.
That'd be something for the PAL board.
I think that's something that would be feasible, wouldn't be a problem at all. But I also think there's an opportunity to take some of the inner city kids out to tour some of the sites or activities at the Boys Ranch as well. So I think we can be able to come to the table, sit down and discuss different things and come up with some opportunities for both sides.
Holler at me, Jason.
Yes, sir. So that's something that just kind of been on my mind to do. And so I definitely think it'd be good. It'd be beneficial for both entities.
I agree.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Chief Brown.
Thank you. We're back to normal. We've had our after action review with amongst our staff to find anything that we would change or make anything better for our next go round. A couple interesting ideas, just things we had missed that our staff felt would be better. We do have that compiled on a list, so we're back to normal from the hurricane. We're going to be doing teaching a class for Seminole Electric. We've got a partnership with them. We're going to be teaching them specifically fire stuff, hazmat stuff, and confined space. Classes will be 36 hours, October 11th to the 13th, and then from the 18th to the 20th, we'll be teaching them in our fire station there at K. Larkin. So we have that going on. Also with October being Fire Prevention Week, we'll be in a lot of schools, talking to the kids, doing classroom programs and such. I'm going to participate with Chief Shaw in a trunk or treat, also in the Fall Festival. Other than that, that's about all we got.
Jill.
Just a real quick notification for the first time since I've been here, 8 years or so, every piece of real estate, every hangar at the airport is rented.
Say that again.
Every piece of real estate at the airport is rented. Even the terminal building, which has been a tough one to get rented, is now rented. So
I just got to rent the property in the front.
That's right. Thanks.
We're gonna script on this. Strickers.
Just want to remind the players of our meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we, I think, twice sent out the invitation to employees and department heads about the lunch tomorrow. And after the meeting's over with, or if you want to go ahead and talk about the emergency declaration expires at midnight tonight, you can renew that for another 7 days.
When's the lunch?
Press Market Center, 11 to 3.
We've got a group that's coming in, they want to feed everybody who worked on emergency operations. Let's make sure we get that communication over to Twin Roman's group too. So that they at least have it. Ms. Tucker.
So, real quick, I am in the process of finalizing some of the CRA TIFIP applications, and when those push through, we're going to have a good year. We should be able to get through at least 2 in every district of the North. The North is limited by the amount of the budget to 1. And also, we are partnering with Wide Solutions to compete for a Tiger grant to create a multimodal hub, a transportation hub there at the A. Philip Randolph station, and really thinking that really good things could come out of that.
Foreshadowing.
Yes, that's it.
Yes, that's her today. Ms. Sandy, you want to say anything? You want to say anything?
Oh, thank you.
State your name for the record.
Sure. Liz Peak, P-E-A-K, with the Right Solution. And it's an honor, thank you, Mayor. I wasn't planning on coming up here, but Right Solution wants to be more involved with the community, what is going on. We want to be a better partner here in Palatka, as well as Putnam County. So you're going to be seeing a lot of us, and we enjoy it. Thank you very much. And especially with the grants, grant writing, there's lots of opportunity, especially through our partnership.
Appreciate it. Mr. Holmes.
Nothing.
Mr. Reynolds.
Got a few things. First of all, I just want to thank all of the city staff. I know we did it at the last meeting after the storm, but again, I just want to reiterate to all the staff, I want to thank them, especially all the ones that are doing the debris cleanup. They're really getting to it, so I'm happy for that. Next week, we'll be having next week we'll be doing the staff meeting, kind of a debriefing after the storm, so that we can talk internally what we did well for preparation, response, and post-storm actions. And so we'll be going through all of that and seeing what we did well and what we can improve on.
Did the commission want to be involved in that meeting?
Yes.
So we just need advertising.
Yes.
So,
When will it?
4, how? Wednesday?
For Wednesday.
Wednesday at 4.
Next Wednesday.
Okay.
Also, Mr. Crowe completed the preliminary damage assessment for all of the city properties with FMIT representative, and as Mr. Griffith noted, we're starting the process now of working with the insurance on getting the claims done, and then whatever is not covered by that, working on getting all of that information into the FEMA worksheets so that we can get those done and cleaned up. As he also mentioned, the city's main dock, as well as the 2 floating docks, did sustain damage. As he also stated, they were repairing one of the floating docks this week in preparation for the Bartram Frolic. So just wanted to thank Legacies, Mr. Miner, and as well as any others that are working on that for getting to work so quickly. And the picture was in the paper earlier this week of them working on that floating dock to ensure that it would be prepared for the frolics this weekend. So I wanted to thank them. Fire Department union contract will be on the next agenda, hopefully. I contacted the National League of Cities earlier this week, and they have sent me an invoice for membership. So the city will be a member of the National League of Cities as well as the Florida League of Cities.
Did we get our discount?
She did. She did include a discount. So I have my accounting supervisor position closing tomorrow, I believe. IT firm is now on board. The commission approved that tonight, the ranking, so I'll be getting to work immediately with them on some of the urgent IT projects that need to be done. Fiscal year ends Saturday, so we'll be starting the new fiscal year Sunday. That's basically all.
Mr. Moore.
Nothing much.
Mr. McCoskey.
Nothing.
Vice Mayor Brown.
I have just a little something. A couple of us have been working on a project, and it's been Allegro Kitchens, Marshall Lane, and myself. And we started doing the history of our downtown. Buildings used to be there, and part of the history downtown. And we were so smart that we took I don't know if it was a phone or a camera we had with us. And by the time we got to the 4 blocks, we only had a block and a half of pictures. So we got to go back and we got somebody who said they'll operate the.
You need to set the target for John.
Yeah. The other thing is that I asked them to take on another project with me. It's a personal one for me. I think that we have so much history going on in this town, and people come here and we start talking about it. We've had people come here to talk about one-room schools and a bunch of things. And my family and I have come up with the idea of trying to see if we could get my grandmother and probably my grandfather into the museum in Washington, D.C., the Black Museum. I was told by somebody with a female that somebody told me it was the only hospital of its kind during that time. It was started in 1918 and it went to 1958, and that was a long time before integration ever started. And I had Scott hit on Scott a little bit. I would like to take a picture of as many people as we can that were born in the hospital or had been in the hospital or worked in the hospital, so that we could add it to the history that we have gathered up from newspapers and other things. Marsha has a thing that she got Mandy's daughter to help you. BJ's daughter. Daughter to help us pull together to try to make a good presentation. And I would like to see if we could take a picture. I had said in front of City Hall, in front of Mural. They suggested that on the properties where the hospital used to be. And on the next meeting, I'd like to bring that back to you all to see if we could put a little blurb in the paper and on the radio to see if we could get people to come. Because I think if people saw that the history of what we had going back in those days was so much better than what we seem to be getting now, that it might help us through some of the troubled times we have. That people, even though it was troubled times and people didn't have a whole lot of legal rights, they made things happen. So if you all would put it on, when I bring it back to you on your Facebook or whatever ways you have to get it out, we'll help me pick a meeting date that we could gather in a time and take the picture so it can be included in when we go to ask for.
You have pictures of the old hospital?
I've got one.
Why don't you do a Photoshop deal where you take pictures of it?
Yeah, let's go back around with it.
Okay.
Look for the old
Well,
picture.
I just like to see how many. What made me really think of it is I talked to Bobby Payne, and he told me he was born in there, and Oleg was born in there, and John was born in there, and I was born in there. So, I mean, I keep running into people who were born there at the time, and the different thing about it was that she had. She couldn't put them on one floor, but whites were upstairs and blacks were downstairs. But they used the same operating room, kitchen, x-ray room, and all that. And she had black and white staff back there. And all the doctors in town, we had one black doctor, the rest were white. They brought all their patients in there. and it's unique for its time, and it's a way for us to start our way to bring and talk about more of the people in Palatka with the historical stuff. So I need a consensus from you all if we can.
You have my support.
Let me think about it.
Just let me know sometime before next 2 weeks.
No, but in all honesty, I think that is definitely the right direction. I would say go a step further. We've got Bella Imagery is actually a photography group that's opening up. They're doing a grand opening. I want to say the 30th. But I know that she does photoshopping. And so that's an opportunity to either to Photoshop it in or take that background and take all those folks that were born there and to be able to recreate that history again. But I think the other step forward now is also we need to think about how we can create history tours of this community. And we need to look at opportunities to fund those or create create a public-private partnership and to create a tour bus or a van. You start out small and let it grow on its own. It started out as a van tour. The tours in Savannah started out with a small
Ride Solutions tour.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it started out, and those are ways that we may be able to do some things together creatively. But literally, the Savannah, for example, the Savannah Black History Tour started out in a small van. It grew from that van to it's now buses that go through. The tour has grown as well, and I've seen that happen. But I think, and we talked about this several different times, but the three of you, you have great perspectives of history within this community. And I think being able to identify at least 20 locations here is easy for y'all. To be able to identify a 2-hour, 20 locations, being able to do a simple recording about the history of each one of those locations, and to be able to have a captive audience for 2 hours going around town on a choreographed tour becomes something that I think is very doable.
It will pump up our tourism.
We put those markers out, which actually allows people who are walking through our community looking at murals and other things to be able to see what the history is. And I think those are the things that we need to start funding, because that's the way we tell our own history. And so I would love for us to have something on our agenda, maybe to put together a committee that starts to work on a tour of Palatka, and it start with the three of you.
Mr. Beaton.
So,
Martin don't know who else though.
If that's something that you guys are interested in, I would love to take that thing to the next level and do what we can do and put some resources behind it to make it work. Because I definitely think it's needed, it's past time, and we need to get there.
Well, the more things we have for people to come and do when they get here, the longer they'll stay and the more money they'll spend.
We just don't share our story. And I think that, and I definitely, I commend the three of you for taking the initiative. And, and I think it's time that, we put our support behind that and more than just conversation.
Well, when Marcia said she had part of it pulled together the thing about my grandmother, when we get it done, I'll try to bring it to meeting in the next 2 weeks so you all can see it. It may be a focal point or a jump off part for us. And we had planned to take it up when I went up to that meeting that got crossed up. But I'll find a time and a place to go so that we can do it.
Anything else?
That's basically.
Couple things. Bartram Frolic, the Bartram Conference is here. Today there was the grand opening of the Bartram Inn from 4 to 6 earlier today. Tomorrow is...
I went over to represent us.
I went there.
Okay, because I told them everybody else had a job and me something.
I went. They hadn't started yet. They didn't start at 4. 6 p.m. Tomorrow is a Bartram Frolic VIP dinner, and there's also a new residence reception at the Bronson Mulholland House at 7 tomorrow evening from the Access to the North Historic District. And then Saturday morning we've got a list of events that are going on as well. I encourage everybody to get out if you haven't had an opportunity to go to the Bartram Festival. It's a great event, and so definitely let's look forward to doing that. Aside from that, I had an opportunity to go through Booker Park to see the land clearing taking place for the stormwater project, and it's taken on a whole different dimension. It's clear, and the residents are excited about what's going on in that area. And so I think it's going to be a great increase in quality of life. Our parks took a hit during the storm. We probably had about 6 or 7 light posts fall down throughout the area, those old wooden posts. And so our parks took a hit. It delayed fencing, and so we're pushing back, and we're moving forward with Little League, but it's going to be there's some adjustments being made. We had a representative from USA Baseball come in to talk about RBI grants, and he was very excited about what he saw. So we're moving forward. Palaca's we're in that time of year where we continually celebrate what's going on. While we're thinking about this year, for the last 3 years, I've really wanted to do it, but I think it's time for us to plan a Christmas drive, Christmas toy drive, where we, as opposed to some of the things that we've done downtown that were open to the public, let's look at planning if we're going to do an event downtown, let's do a family-oriented event downtown, like those old 3rd Street block parties without the alcohol, and let's invite churches, let's invite citizens, let's invite families and children in, and let's do a toy drive and give something back to these kids. And I think that's a way for us to get all our community partners in. Let's do it during the hours that the businesses are open, so that they can actually have some folks come in there. And so
The other thing, ma'am, we need to have a float or something for us in the parade instead of
I'm too heavy.
Well, we got to think
So, Ms. Brown's volunteering to do a float for us for the parade. We will not be in a funeral home hearse.
It was.
So, is there anything else before us? But I thank the commission for the work that you guys did during the storm. Ms. Brown's car was loaded down with dinners, passing them out. Commissioner Borum, Commissioner Campbell, Commissioner Williams, in the middle of the night, out going into areas that weren't even in the city, just making sure that citizens were taken care of and that people had their needs met. Our staff, there's nothing else to be said. You guys are getting kudos all around. People are just in awe of what's going on. Mr. Griffin, our plan to clean the city up, debris is coming up already. We're well ahead of schedule. Your guys are doing a great job, and we're getting back to some sense of normal. Hopefully by the next meeting, everyone who took photos throughout that entire event, we can put that stuff together so we can share that with the community in some type of presentation for our next meeting, and so they can actually see the before and after with the aftermath of Irma. That meeting on next Wednesday, our hurricane, the aftermath, our post review of Hurricane Irma is going to be something where we actually look at what we can do better to deal with disaster relief and disaster preparedness, and what other opportunities may be available for us from a funding standpoint, and also from a request standpoint that will allow us to have a better interaction with EOC, and also with resources that may be available and with some of our community partners. And I think it's a perfect opportunity for us to have a municipal plan that goes along with the county plan, where we identify our priorities and get that information to them well before.
Motion to adjourn.